I pushed open the front door with my shoulder, careful not to drop the paper bag of medications the nurse handed me that morning. My wrist still had the hospital band they'd forgotten to cut it off, or maybe I hadn't reminded them. I was too tired to care. 3 days in a hospital bed alone with machines beeping through the night and strangers waking me up to check blood pressure. I'd told Caleb I was being admitted. No visit. Not even a text to ask how I was doing. Still, I convinced myself they must have been busy with the baby. I clung to that thought as I stepped into the kitchen. Then I froze. A second fridge stood beside mine, sleek, shiny, still wrapped in the thin layer of protective plastic like it had just been delivered. My fridge, the one I'd stocked last week, was empty, completely cleared out. Not even my jar of mustard. I turned slowly, hoping there was an explanation. Caleb walked in, phone in hand, barely glancing at me. "Oh yeah," he said like he'd forgotten I'd come home today. "That one's ours. For me and Ava. You should probably get your own groceries from now on." He didn't say it with anger. He said it like he was offering directions to a stranger. Behind him, Ava walked in and opened the new fridge. I caught a glimpse inside. Everything had labels. Rows of containers marked in black ink. Ava. 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 Even the oat milk. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Ava didn't look at me. She just shut the door, adjusted a jar slightly, and walked out humming to herself. I stood in the middle of the kitchen, hands still trembling from the hospital IV eyes, fixed on the word written across a tub of yogurt, "Not yours." I backed out of the room without a word and made my way to my bedroom, where I found the next surprise. I closed the door to my bedroom gently, like I was a guest in someone else's house. The first thing I noticed was the closet half empty. My robe had been folded and placed in a plastic bin on the floor, along with my house shoes, a few cardigans, and my winter hat. My tea tins were gone from the nightstand shelf. A small box sat in their place, labeled M, Misk, with a smiley face drawn next to it. Ava's handwriting. In the bathroom, the cup that held my toothbrush had been replaced. Mine was lying beside the sink, wrapped in tissue. My vitamins were missing from the medicine cabinet. Even the lavender lotion my granddaughter liked to smell had been boxed up. I walked back to the laundry room. My detergent softener and dryer balls all gone. A sticky note on the shelf read, "Use free and clear only. Baby allergies." The bottle I bought last week was in the trash. Not one word. No call at the hospital. No, "Do you need anything?" No welcome home. Just silence. A new fridge. A new order. As if I had already left and no one told me. Back in my room, I sat down slowly at the edge of the bed. The blanket was still rumpled from when I rushed out 3 nights ago. No one had touched it. I looked at the plastic hospital bag still sitting on my dresser. 3 days ago, I was hooked to machines struggling to hold a fork. Now I was home and already being erased. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I reached for the glass of water by the bed, took a slow sip, and placed it back with care. I didn't sleep that night. I laid there staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above me, the faint hum of the baby monitor crackling through the wall. I used to think that sound was comforting, proof that I was needed. But now, it just felt distant. My mind wandered back to when Caleb was small, no more than 4, asking where his daddy went. I had no real answer, just that God needed him and that we'd be okay. I said it so many times, I almost believed it. After Marcus died, I took every overnight shift the clinic would give me. My hands were always sore, my legs swollen, and holidays became another workday. I packed lunches at midnight ironed uniforms at 4 a.m. and somehow kept the lights on. When Caleb wanted to go to college out of state, I smiled and nodded, even though I had less than $1,000 in savings. I sold my wedding ring first, then the car. I bought an old used bike and rode it to work rain or shine for almost 2 years. I told myself it was worth it. Caleb was smart, and he had promise. I just needed to get him through. When he brought Ava home, I tried to be welcoming. She was sharp polished, always looking past me, but he loved her. And when they talked about buying this house, I offered to help before they could even ask. I pulled from my retirement fund, liquidated a small bond Marcus and I had kept for emergencies. They didn't have enough for the down payment. I did. I paid most of it and told them the rest could wait. The deed stayed in my name for now, just until things settled. They nodded, smiled, promised to pay me back. That was 6 years ago. Now they talk around me like I'm background noise, like I'm temporary, but I know what's written in black and white. And I still remember the day I signed the check. I boiled water for instant noodles, the kind I used to keep stocked for Caleb during his finals chicken flavor, always his favorite. I didn't want to cook. My body still ached, and the hospital meds left a bitter taste in my mouth, but I needed something warm. As I poured the noodles into the bowl, the baby started crying in the next room. Loud at first, then that broken little hiccup cry she only did when no one came right away. I waited thinking Ava would go. She didn't. I listened, no footsteps, no shushing, no movement. I turned off the stove and walked down the hall. The baby's room door was cracked open. She was standing in the crib, fists curled around the rail, red-faced and wet-cheeked. Without thinking, I picked her up. Her little body folded into mine like it always did. She buried her face in my neck and quieted down within seconds. Behind me, Ava's voice cut through. "You're spoiling her," she said flatly from the doorway. "She won't learn independence if someone runs in every time she cries." I didn't turn around. "She's a baby," I said quietly, adjusting the blanket on the child's back. Ava sighed hard, then walked away. Her footsteps disappeared down the hall. I stayed a moment longer, rocking gently, staring at the soft light of the mobile as it spun overhead. Then I laid the baby back down and returned to the kitchen. The noodles were cold. I reheated them without tasting anything. Back in my room, I folded my hands in my lap. They were trembling, not from illness, not from age. Something else had begun inside me. The house was still dim when I woke, the light just starting to lift behind the blinds. I hadn't meant to rise so early, but sleep had slipped away from me sometime in the night. My legs were stiff, my back sore, but something heavier sat in my chest. I stepped into the hallway to use the bathroom and paused. Caleb's voice drifted from the kitchen, low but clear. "She doesn't fit our lifestyle anymore," he said. "It's too much tension. The kitchen's cramped and I can't relax in my own home." A pause, then Ava's voice followed. "It's time. Maybe we give her an assisted living brochure, something nearby, but manageable. She needs more care anyway." They spoke like I was already gone, like I hadn't overheard a word. I backed into my room, silent. I slipped on my shoes and grabbed my purse. The engine of my old car started on the second try. 20 minutes later, I stood in front of a metal drawer at the Greenville Public Library. I turned the key and slid it open. Inside was a thick envelope, sealed and rubber banded. My name was written across the front in bold blue ink, my handwriting from years ago. I had packed it before the move, long before Ava ever came into the picture. Back then, I'd told myself I was just being cautious, that Caleb would never make me need this, that I was keeping it just in case. Now my fingers didn't hesitate. I took the envelope and slid it into my bag. There were no tears, no tremble, just a slow, steady breath as I closed the box and locked it again. The folder held everything I needed: proof, records, copies of the deed. They wanted space. I was going to give it to them, but not in the way they expected. I parked outside the house but didn't go in right away. The folder sat beside me on the passenger seat, thick with paper and weight. I placed a hand on it for a moment before picking it up and walking inside. No one noticed me. The house was quiet. In my room, I laid the contents out on the bed. Property records, receipts for wire transfers, copies of the deed, a draft of the transfer Caleb had once asked me to sign, but never left space for my signature. He'd assumed I followed through. So had Ava, but I hadn't. I'd kept the house in my name, not because I didn't trust him, but because something in me said to wait, to see. Now I saw. I flipped through the documents one by one, double-checking everything. The taxes, the utilities, the contractor bills I had paid directly when they renovated the back porch. They'd built that thinking it was their home. I had paid for every board of it. I took out my phone and scrolled until I found the number. It had been a few years, but I knew it by heart. Lawrence Sutton, came the voice on the line. Calm, professional, still the same. It's Odessa Langston, I said. I need to reassert ownership on the house and freeze any transactions connected to the property. There was a pause. Then, are you ready to follow through this time? I looked down at the folder, at my name printed on every line that mattered. Not with noise, I said. With certainty. He cleared his throat. I'll start the paperwork. Expect the notice within 10 business days. Want me to inform them directly? No, I said. Not yet. That part I would handle myself. I didn't say a word when I came out for dinner that night. Ava was watching something on her tablet at the table, earbuds, in a half-finished salad in front of her. Caleb wasn't around. I opened the pantry and saw my tea pushed to the back behind cans of chickpeas and oat flour. I took it down, made a cup, and went back to my room. Later, when the lights dimmed and the house fell still, I moved through the kitchen, quietly. One by one, I took photographs. The fridge with the labels, Ava, Ava, not yours. The note by the washer, use baby safe detergent only. The cabinet where my mugs had been replaced. I didn't touch anything. I just documented it. Upstairs, I photographed the nursery, the rocking chair I bought, the blanket I knit last winter, the shelf where my old storybooks still sat, though no one had thanked me for keeping them. I wasn't preserving evidence for revenge. I was preserving proof of presence, of what I had built. The next morning, I was the first one up. I made coffee in the old French press they'd forgotten was mine. I used my mug. I stirred in the cream I bought with my name written across the label in pen. Then I opened the shiny new fridge and placed a sticky note inside the door. In small, neat handwriting, I wrote, "A second fridge doesn't make a second home." I didn't sign it. I just closed the fridge door, sat down with my coffee, and waited for them to find it. And that afternoon, Caleb decided it was time to speak to me directly. Caleb found me on the back porch just after lunch. I was folding a blanket that had fallen from the swing. His face was tight, measured, but I could see the nervous twitch in his jaw. He was holding something behind his back, maybe a brochure, maybe just his own discomfort. "We've been thinking." He began, not looking at me. "It might be time. You know that you considered moving out. Finding a place better suited to your needs." I turned toward him slowly. "My needs," I repeated. He nodded quickly. "Yeah, a quieter place. Somewhere with more care, maybe less chaos. You've done more than enough here, but it's just, the house feels crowded. Ava needs space. And with the baby," I held up my hand. He stopped mid-sentence. "I own this house, Caleb," I said evenly. "I've just been letting you believe otherwise." A silence fell between us. He blinked once, then laughed a little, trying to keep it light. "Mom, come on. That's not Ava." Stepped out from the kitchen, arms folded, eyes already rolling. "You're bluffing," she said flatly. Without a word, I walked back inside. From the drawer beside my bed, I took out the manila envelope I'd prepared that morning. The one with my name embossed on the documents, the notary stamps still fresh. I handed it to Caleb as I passed him in the hallway. "I suggest you read every page," I said, and I kept walking. Behind me, I heard the sound of paper being pulled loose, silence, and then Ava's sharp voice. "What the hell is this?" But I didn't turn around. In my room, I sat down and pulled the curtains open wide. The sun poured in across the bedspread I had bought when Caleb was 12. Outside, the grass was overgrown and the rose bushes needed cutting. This house had been ignored for too long. The first thing I would do was reclaim the garden. The letter arrived 2 mornings later by certified mail. The envelope bore Lawrence Sutton's firm name in sharp serif type. Caleb signed for it at the door, not realizing what he held, until he was already back inside. By lunch, the tension had thickened the air. No one said a word. I sat in the sunroom with a cup of tea, flipping through an old gardening magazine, pretending not to hear the hushed conversation between them behind the closed bedroom door. That afternoon, Caleb found me again. No pamphlet this time. No rehearsed opening. He stood there holding the letter like it had personally betrayed him. "You're really going through with this?" he asked. Voice tight. I didn't look up. "I already have. It says 30 days. That we have to vacate. You can't just—" He caught himself, took a breath. "This is still our home?" "No," I said gently. "It never was." The words weren't cruel. They were just the truth. Ava appeared, then standing halfway into the room, arms crossed but shoulders slumped. Her tone wasn't sharp anymore. It was tired, cracked around the edges. "You can't do this to your granddaughter," she said. "She loves you. She needs you." I met her eyes. "I know." Then why I held her gaze. Because I want her to grow up knowing the difference between a house and a home, and how to treat the people who give you both. Neither of them spoke. I stood and walked past them, calm, unhurried. The house had gone quiet again. No arguments, no humming, no refrigerator doors slamming. Upstairs, I opened the nursery door. The air still held the scent of lavender and baby powder. I folded the small blanket left on the chair and placed it in the cedar chest by the window. That night, I began planning the trust. After they left, the house exhaled. It was like someone had opened a window that had been sealed shut for years. I didn't rush to change everything. I moved quietly, room by room. Ava's metal wall art came down first. The abstract prints, the quote signs in fake cursive boxed and stored in the garage. I painted the living room back to its original soft almond shade, the one Thomas and I picked when Caleb was still in high school. The color warmed the light just right in the afternoons. In the hallway, I rehung the old photographs, our wedding in black and white, Caleb in his cap and gown, my parents on their front porch. I'd never meant for them to disappear, but over time, Ava had taken them down one by one, replaced by her clean lines and curated style. The nursery took the longest. I aired out the room, wiped down the windowsills, and gathered all the baby's toys into neat baskets. The blanket I had folded in Chapter 9 now lay across the crib, smoothed and centered. I dusted the shelf of books, many of them mine, from when Caleb was little. And then I locked the door gently behind me. That room would stay untouched. For her. At the lawyer's office, I signed the papers transferring partial ownership of the house into a living trust. My granddaughter's name was typed in block letters at the top. She wouldn't understand it now, but one day she would. One day she'd know who protected her future when no one else would. The neighbors started stopping by again. Ruth from across the street brought fresh tomatoes. Dennis offered to mow the lawn. I accepted both. I made cornbread one afternoon and left the door open while the coffee brewed. The house felt lived in again, not staged for someone else's comfort. Then one morning, Lawrence called. His tone was warm. "They've signed the release," he said. "It's official. You're the sole occupant now." I thanked him, hung up, and returned to the garden with my gloves. The roses had waited long enough.